Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tech and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a new Rust build for you, but before we get started I just want to let you guys know we're going to be doing this build a little bit differently. Rather than tell you guys, hey, here's a build and here's exactly how to do it, what I'm going to try to do is we're going to start off with that starter base. I'll put it in the top right. It's called the starter base redesigned. Basically, a new idea on how to do a starter base. You know, all that you see right now is 2x2s. 2x2 this, 2x2 that, and honestly the landscape is pretty boring. So rather than say, hey, here's a base and here's how to build it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with that 2x2. I'm going to give you guys some options. I'm going to show you the things that you need to think about when you're building it, and basically I'm going to lead you along on how to come up with your own design that's effective, that you feel secure in, and that you're not concerned about, you know. Rather than, I don't really want to just freestyle it because I might make a weak base. What I'm going to try to do is try to tell you guys the things to think about while you're doing it to make sure that it's strong and at the same time it's original and you can add your own touch. What we're going to end up with is something like this base here. Now this is a group base. This is about 60k stone. I'll show you on the screen right now. About 54k. And right now I know the first thing that you guys are all going to be thinking is it's got a flat roof, so it's weak, it's only 2 floors down, and you're completely correct. I'm leaving the roof open for now. We'll go over some options later, but just to give you an idea of what you'll wind up with in the end, and it's not going to look exactly like this, keep that in mind. Got 3 doors through here. You come into this is like a waiting area type of thing, and a ladder hatch upstairs. Come over here. We didn't even put the door frames up actually. So put the door frames up, come through here, you got your large furnace, back through here. And now I did redesign the interior of the starter base, and I'll go over that in a second. Actually, let's shoot over to the one that I redesigned. I believe it's this one. Yeah, alright, so here's the interior. And this is the walkthrough that I just mentioned. And this is actually, like most of my bases, I played with it in-game. So I went ahead and I wanted to check it out, and I decided that I wanted to change a few things. And one of the things that we changed was I put the tool cupboard away. It's back there. Got these 4 boxes here. We come over here, got 3 furnaces in here, got 2 boxes that you can access both of those. And you come over here and you got the other loot room. And since this is all about telling you guys about design decisions, I'll let you know why I did that. Basically, that square is a loot room, and that square is a loot room. The way that we had it before, we had both of these squares as loot rooms. So if somebody just rocketed 4 rockets right here, they would get both of your loot rooms. Now with the way that it's spread out, no matter where they rocket, they can't splash both of them. So they could rocket like 4, get down here, and then go through your doors, but it's still going to be more expensive on their end than just 4 rockets. So with that being said, let's get started right ahead. And I'll show you basically what phase 2 is going to be, and we'll go over the reasoning for it and everything. Alright, so here's one of your options for what I would call phase 2. Because obviously once you have your starter base, if you want to turn this into your main base, the next thing you're going to need to do is start adding honeycomb. So now here's one of your options. If you want to keep a smaller footprint and you want to keep the base a little bit more compact, you go with just basically classic honeycomb, you know, triangles, keeping it tight, squares all the way around. And I will show you a tip real quick actually. If you look here, it'd be 1, 2 walls, and then you'd be inside the main base. Everywhere else, you know, if you go through here, then here, it would be 3 walls, and all the triangle areas, 1, 2, 3 walls. So a quick way to fix that so that you don't have a weak point like that is when you have a square that's by a vulnerable area, go ahead, drop down here. You're going to want to put the ceiling on first, get rid of that square below, put the triangle in, and now you have to make sure that that square ceiling's up first. Put that square ceiling up there, and then you go ahead and fill in that triangle. And then you can delete that square, and now it still looks like it's only 2 walls, right? But if we delete that and wait for it to despawn a little bit here, alright, now you can see that if they were to blow in through that wall, it would be 1 wall, and then one of these 2, So that would be 2 walls, and then here, and that would be 3 walls. So now if you do that on both sides, you do it here, you have 3 walls from all sides. Okay, so we'll fast forward a little bit and you'll see I put those triangles there, and now we have a footprint that's 3 walls all the way around to anywhere that they want to go. Now the safest way to build this kind of base, and the reason why you want to put your footprint down first, is so you can sort of decide on where you want to put a door. One of the key things to think about when you put a door is to try to get the door to the outside of the base. If you want to keep it like dead center, it's going to give them a shortcut. They're going to be able to, you know, if they blow through one door, suddenly they've skipped a wall, and technically it's just 2 walls to your loot at that point. So if you can move the door to the outside, it's going to keep the rest of your base a lot safer. So in this situation, you could put a door right here. If you want to go a little bit overkill with it, you could wind up actually putting a door. Now that would be a shortcut to the honeycomb. Yeah, this would probably be the best place, either here or here. And once you have that figured out, you go ahead and you put that door down. And now because your whole footprint's laid out, you can keep yourself safe so that you don't get killed while you're building, just by running around the base, going like this. And then you could go ahead and you throw your door on there. And now the whole time while you're building, you're going to be fairly safe. And the good thing about this too is, like, the next thing that you'd obviously want to do is go ahead and start throwing ceilings on. But one thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is, are you going to want a second level? And other things like that. If you're going to want a second level, you're also going to want to try to keep your access to your roof, or to your upstairs, you want to try to keep that as far away from the core as well, rather than putting like a ladder hatch like right here, where then if people just blow through your ladder hatches, they get down to your main stuff. Try to keep all your vertical parts on the outside of your base, because if they get into the stairway or they get into the ladder hatches and stuff like that, you don't want that to be a shortcut either. So for like smaller groups, what I might recommend here is if you put like that doorway there, and then we'll put a wall over here. Right, like this would be your entrance. What you might want to do for easy access upstairs and a little bit cheaper is you could do this, and then we will grab one of these, and you could actually just, you know, throw a ladder right here, and that would be an easy way to keep the base compact, keep it fairly safe, and have upstairs access. Because now if they wanted to get to the upstairs, they still have to get in here, and it's, you know, a lot better than if you try to put upstairs access inside the actual base through one of these triangles or something. Like basically you want to prevent them from getting access to your core. That's like the key thing. So back to keeping yourself safe though, we'll just ignore this stuff. So once you have all that laid up, the next thing that you'd want to do is just run around, put all these roofs on. And then while you're farming or whatever, obviously you want to keep this wall down too, because you want to keep access to in here. So you could go ahead, throw all those roofs up, and then while you're farming, like rather than having to save up a ton of stuff, you go out, cut down a little bit of trees, and hit a couple nodes, and when you get a little bit of stuff, you go ahead and throw a wall up, and keep going. And now, once you do that, it's a lot safer than trying to like, oh, I'll build one corner here, because you also give people the idea that your base is huge. Because if they don't know that you don't have the honeycomb on the inside, they're just going to sort of have to assume that it is there, rather than like, nobody's really going to assume that your base is hollow unless they have a reason to. That's just a guideline on how to build that and how you could set that up. But what I'm going to focus on, as I do want this to be a little bit more of a larger group base, is here's a whole nother way that you can do it, and it allows you a little bit more mobility, a little bit more free access when it comes to the interior. Because a lot of times I hear people say, you know, your builds are nice, but I feel like they're like claustrophobic or whatever. So what we did here was, this is the same starter base again, and since we wanted more mobility and more walking room and stuff like that, we went ahead and put 2 squares here, and then you just go back to the same classic type of honeycomb. And you got the same design decisions here ahead of you. Is you want to try to keep your main door on the outside as far away from your loot as possible. Now if you are in a big group base, and one of the things that I know most groups are going to want is a large furnace. So what you want to do too is, you know, everybody wants their large furnace as close to the base as possible, so when it comes to running resources back and forth, it's not too big of a deal. You don't feel like, you know, your large furnace is really far away. So once you figure out where you want your main door to be, let's say we'll put it here for now, and that'll keep it rather far away, and you only have one triangle that you have to run through. So if you guys know, in large groups, running through triangles with doors is absolutely cancer. So you limit the number of triangles you got to run through. You got your door all the way away from your loot, and that's a pretty safe place to put it. Now with your furnace, what's helpful with a furnace is you can sort of use it as a buffer. It's going to give you extra walls of protection. It might sort of give them a shortcut if you don't do it correctly, because then they can just blow straight through the ceiling and come straight down. So what you do want to keep in mind is you do want to try to keep a layer of honeycomb between you and where you decide to put this large furnace. Let's grab one of these large furnaces actually. So you don't want to have the large furnace up against your base, because then once they blow into the large furnace, boom, they're right in your base. So you definitely want to get your footprint down first, and you want to make sure that you can try to keep a layer of honeycomb excuse me, in between your base and that large furnace. So now with that being said, if you put it right here, say, and you go ahead and they blow down, that would be one wall down, and then you got your doorways that they're gonna have to go through. So you want to try to keep as many doors as you have on the front of your base between your furnace. That way it's not cheaper to go through your furnace. So with the way that it would be set up here, this is what it would look like. 1, 2, 3, and then your main door. So you got at least 3 doors from the outside before you get in here. So looking at that, you might want to do 1 door here, 1 door here, and 1 door there. That way it's still 3 doors if they blow into your furnace, and they haven't really given themselves any type of a shortcut. So you know you want your furnace right there. Now obviously you can still change this. Like if you see here, you have 3 doors, you put 3 doors there. Or maybe you want a furnace on the other side because you don't have a flat part of your base over there. Same thing over here, 3 doors. You could even put it outside this square right here, and 3 doors. Just for the sake of it being a little bit different than what what my build is over there, we're gonna go ahead and decide that, you know, this is your best part for a large furnace, and we're gonna put a door right there instead. So now once you have that stuff laid out, it's the same as the other base. You go ahead and throw all your walls up, and it makes it easier to do it safely again, just like I mentioned on the other base. And now you're gonna have access running all the way around. That's what you want to keep, is basically like that running circle all the way around your base. Once you have that laid out, and like I said, this is really more for a larger group. It could be for a smaller group if you guys play really hard and you do a lot of farming, you get a lot of stuff. It could definitely be for a smaller group. So I don't want to just assume it's for a large group, but at this point, like by the time you're expanding like this, you definitely should have enough gears to have a ladder hatch. And that's where, in this design, you can put it right here. This is where I'm actually going to go ahead and put it, is inside this part, because it is still outside of your loot. It's not going to be direct access. Like if they blow down through your hatch, it may give them a little bit of a shortcut. You can still do that ladder trick that I showed you right here. With a large group, that's a little bit more of a pain. Or you can even go ahead and put your ladder hatch here. And that's all going to affect the type of room that you have upstairs. And that's one of those things that you want to pay attention to again, is, you know, once I do have this filled in, where I put my ladder hatch is greatly going to determine how much room I have upstairs and how safe upstairs is. So now personally, I'm going to put my ladder hatch in here a little bit, only because I know that I stagger my ladder hatches, which means if I put a ladder hatch here on this floor, I will never put another ladder hatch directly above it. If you put a ladder hatch directly above it, that's easy access. That's like the first thing raiders look for is, if I blow in this hatch, is there another hatch completely below it? Because then that's just like an easy elevator. So what you want to do is you put a ladder hatch here, go like this, and just to make it easy, we'll have it face that door. So now you have that all laid out, and now you can work on doing the same thing that I had mentioned before. Actually, you're going to want to put that triangle down there. Alright, so we jump ahead a little bit here, and what you'll see is I went ahead, I put those triangles in like I had mentioned, down there and down there, just like we did on the other base. And we also closed off the area to a large furnace and closed off the area to the main base. And now, just like the other side, what we're going to want to do here is always go ahead and fill in your triangles, or your squares first, sorry about that. Fill in all those squares first, and then come in, fill in all your triangles. Just makes it a little bit faster, and it also makes sure that if you do any of the honeycomb stuff like I showed you with this triangle here, it makes sure that you can always fill in your honeycomb. Turn our little candle hat here on so you guys can see a little bit better. Alright, so now you're all blocked in, and just like I had mentioned before, what you're going to want to do is just start filling in the honeycomb. The easiest way I find to do it is to do it like this. And I'll give you another tip here. If you see the giant X on the blue and then it goes away, you just press R to flip your walls like that. That way you don't have to use the hammer. And what you're always going to want to do is, like, see how this is a V basically? You always want the non-X side facing outside. That's going to be your strong side. So there you have, this stone is facing outside. And then you come here, and now this is the side facing out, so you want the X inward like this. And then same thing on that side. And you just use R to do it, so you don't have to use the hammer. The hammer is really annoying, honestly. And here we come to your furnace door. So now you know you don't want to put a wall there, you're going to want to put another doorway. And a tip for the furnace too, if they do blow into there, you don't want them to be able to pick through the wall. So always make sure your wall is facing outward towards the furnace. Otherwise, you know, that's a really quick shortcut because they'll just start doing that. And now you're back to your front door, so you can just go ahead and finish filling this in. So now, you know, you've got this nice entryway, you've got this nice area, you could put like a repair bench in here or a research table or something. You got your access to the roof, got your access to your furnace, and you're feeling pretty strong right now, you know? You're obviously still only have the one level, and you're gonna still want to get that large furnace in. So now with large furnaces, we'll go to the next idea here, or next design tips really. With large furnaces, they're really easy to work into your base. You don't need to go crazy with them. All you need to do is, now you're going to do this out of twig, and that's going to be like the big thing, but all you really want to do is just find a place where you can fit 4 squares. As long as you can fit 4 squares, you're going to be able to fit a furnace. So you do 4 squares, 4 squares. And now, this is how you keep it cheap. Is just on the end of each one of these squares, you put a triangle. Triangle, triangle, and then you go ahead and delete the 4 squares. That's all you need to do for a large furnace. I see a lot of people put squares all the way around it and all that stuff. That's always going to be more expensive. Just put triangles, it'll be fine. And a key tip here for this is you actually want to make these out of sheet metal. Because unless you're going to honeycomb this whole thing in, which you don't really need to do, all you need is this one wall. If you want to be super secure, you can completely honeycomb it in. And then it doesn't matter if it's sheet metal or stone. But for the most part, what you're really going to just want to do is just put these walls up like that. If you don't make this out of sheet metal, somebody can actually just stand here and pick at it and it'll just disappear. So to prevent them from being able to just pick through your foundation and walk right into your furnace, you want to make those out of sheet metal. Obviously, you know, you could still pick sheet metal. It's only 21 picks. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't pick it. But it'll generally deter, you know, 90% of the people you run into. Once you have that basic box set up, you want to go ahead, add another layer onto the top of it. And this time, the walls that are going into your base, make sure that you face them outward. So if people break into your furnace again, same thing. They won't be able to just pick through there. Same thing as the door. Once you have that all set up, still get that large furnace in there. Go ahead and just get it. We're going to have to pull this door off actually. To get it just to sit right. You may need to mess with it a little bit. But then there you go. You have a large furnace in your base now. And one thing that I've seen people mess up on is definitely, no matter what you do, do not put anything above this large furnace until the large furnace is in. Once you have that large furnace in though, then you're going to go ahead and put these floor frames in. And the next thing you're going to want to do is construction. And where are they? Here you go. Floor grills. You're going to want 4 of those. And you put those in there. And then your large furnace is secure. Oh, a little bit of lag there. Holy shit. Go ahead and throw those large furnaces in, or those floor grills in. Now your large furnace is safe. You have easy access to it. And you're ready to work on the next floor. Now obviously this whole time, especially, you know, you got your metal frags cooking in here, you're going to want to slowly start adding these doors in. And start making the area like comfortable. This is a, you know, a good space to put like drop boxes and stuff where you don't want to keep your loot. Here's some other ones. This is actually the old way that the base was set up if you guys still wanted to do it this way. But like I said, this is all about design decisions and letting you guys figure out the best way that you like to lay it out and just giving you the tips. So now you're at this point, you've had your furnace cooking for a while. Let's give you an overall breakdown of the cost here for you guys so you know. You're looking at 35k stone. You got your large furnace and everything. So guys, unfortunately this video started running a little bit long. So I'm going to cut this off here and we're going to go straight to a part 2. If you want to see part 2 of this where we're going to focus on doing the upstairs, laying out the loot rooms and all of that stuff, be sure to check the link that's in the top right corner. I'll also have a link in the description just so you guys know right off the bat. But the link in the top right corner will bring you directly to part 2. I uploaded both of them at the same time. I just didn't want this video to wind up being like 30 or 35 minutes, and I also didn't want to cut out any of the information. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you over in part 2.